Extra, the chance for rain returns to our area this week. Starting tomorrow, what we're tracking and what that can mean as we head into the first weekend of the new year.
And as we continue to wrap up the holidays, the initiative being done by the Birmingham Zoo to help save the planet.
Plus, we're on your side with tips on how to keep your child safe during winter as they travel in car seats.
WBRC Fox 6 News. First Alert Weather Extra starts now.
I haven't had a chance to say this. Happy New Year,
Happy New Year, Wes. It's great to have you back. Are you feeling well rested? Maybe.
Hey, I'm ready to go. You know, I had the black-eyed peas yesterday, so I'm ready. You know,
good.
I saw everybody was posting too. I think everybody had the same meal yesterday.
I think we all did.
At least over 50%, maybe.
Yeah, so we're all going into the new year with some wealth, prosperity, and good health, I hope.
Yeah,
that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for everyone. And looks like the weather, I know it was kind of interesting over the holidays.
Yes.
We had that one chance where we could see possibly some wintry precipitation. Right. Those are some very tricky setups. And tomorrow we have another system that's just kind of walking that fine line as it moves across Alabama. Could we see any wintry precipitation? Well, right now what we're looking at, we've got clouds starting to build in across the areas to the north, but it is cold. I mean, temperatures in the freezing range right now, or close to the freezing range in those far northern areas, and it's going to be another night where we see temperatures dropping possibly as low as 26 degrees for areas to the north overnight. But look to the west, we got wet weather building in across central Texas, and I wanted to show you this because this is the next system. There is a healthy disturbance spinning in the atmosphere. It's going to be making its way to the east overnight. A lot of this gets in here tomorrow by late morning and midday once the temperatures make a rebound. But there's a chance that as this begins tomorrow, we could see a little bit of a wintry mix as this starts later in the day. So let's talk about what's next. We've got freezing for tonight, and then tomorrow as this starts, maybe a brief wintry mix, which will change over to rain quickly. So if you do notice a couple sleet pellets on the windshield, it looks like the precipitation is going to quickly change over, and then we're going to see more rain coming back Friday night and into Saturday. And then there's a risk that we could see some severe weather into next week, so we've got the extra on that as well. AccuTrack radar right now, of course, all dry, but I mentioned some areas to the north close to freezing like Coleman, Hamilton. It's cold out there, and we're going to have another frigid start to the day early tomorrow morning. You can see those temperatures down into the 20s, 27 around Coleman, 29 Center, Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Anniston, and even south into Shelby and Chilton counties. We'll see those temperatures. Wilsonville, Alabaster, Calera right there around 31 there early tomorrow morning. But freezing to start, but as we get to mid-morning, we'll see those temperatures rising into the 40s there by the afternoon or once some of that precipitation starts moving in. High temperatures though in the 40s. It's going to be a cold day tomorrow. Not a lot of rain, but a chance that we're going to see some showers again for areas into the afternoon. It's mostly light precipitation. But a lot to talk about coming up in the weather, and we're going to break into that. And we're also going to talk about, first off, right now you can see Hoover, we're at 44 degrees, a live look. But in East Alabama, Dynamic Outreach Ministries in Gadsden is currently opening a warming station for those who need it this week. I know it's going to be frigid out there tonight. It will be open from now until Friday between 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. They are asking you to donate some items such as food, blankets, pillows, snacks as they get adjusted to this new effort.
We started the warming station about 2 months ago. We see individuals walk up and down the road needing shelter, so we thought we had an extra building behind the center that we could put to use, so we started the warming station.
And if you're interested in making a donation, you can go to our website, WBRC.com, or go to our app for more details.
Thanks, Wes. And you know, speaking of cold weather, one of the things that we see a lot of time here in central Alabama is the threat for black ice. And you don't have to have snow to get black ice. So what is black ice exactly? It's not like there's just this strange black ice that suddenly begins to form on the road. What you have is on any type of surface like pavement, concrete, if the road temperature is at or below 32 degrees. So if it's at freezing. If any moisture falls on it, you can get ice to form as soon as it freezes on contact with that surface. So you can see right here as we're looking at it that possibility of ice to form anytime you have freezing temperatures at the surface. Now, you don't necessarily have to have freezing temperatures above the surface. Let's say you have a situation where snow is falling, which obviously we don't get that too much in Alabama, but if we do, you can have black ice form in a situation like that. That's more of a surefire guarantee. Man, if you've got snow falling and you've got at or below freezing temperatures at the surface, you can see that icy slick covering on roads that can make for hazardous travel. But like I said, it doesn't just have to be snow. It can be a situation where you have rain falling from the cloud. We talk a lot of times in the winter about the threat for freezing rain, where you have this warm layer at the surface, just above the surface, but once rain hits the surface, something like the ground or something like a road where the temperatures are at or below freezing, it can freeze on contact and produce this sheen of ice that can make for some slippery travel. But another one we don't think about is fog. And sometimes in the winter, we can get a phenomenon called freezing fog. That is when temperatures at the surface, again, are at or below freezing, but you have the water droplets that make up fog freeze on contact with the surface of an elevated surface like a road, where a bridge or an overpass may be, and that can cause freezing fog that can cause for more slippery travel. So you got to be careful in winter situations. We're hoping we won't have any issues tomorrow because the rain will be so light, but we're certainly keeping an eye on it, Wes.
Yeah, that's right. Thankfully, those surface temperatures staying above freezing for the area tomorrow. And kind of switching modes here in the event of severe weather. I spoke with Jim Coker from the Jefferson County EMA about a program that you can get involved with in the community to help in preparation for a storm or recovery efforts if needed.
One thing that a lot of communities offer is a CERT program, and those are citizens who are trained to operate in a disaster. So they receive a level of training which makes them somewhat self-sufficient until responders can get there. A lot of times this may be a neighborhood. We have at least one at the university here. We have them, I know in the city of Birmingham, several who operate their storm shelters. So they have a lot of other duties. But we encourage people to seek out a CERT program in your area and get that training, because it's also training that you can use, such as how to operate a fire extinguisher.
And CERT training takes about 18 to 21 hours to complete, with meetings once a week. For more information on the program and how you can get involved, visit the Jefferson County EMA office website. And in 30 seconds, we take you across the nation and the world as we continue to talk about major events that have happened, from earthquakes to flooding. We've got it all right here. Stay with us on First Alert Weather Extra. And welcome back into First Alert Weather Extra. Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt. Currently 44 degrees here in Birmingham, Tuscaloosa at 40, Anniston we're at 42, 36 in Coleman. Still showing above freezing temperatures, but it won't be long. We're going to see some of those northern areas at freezing lines starting to make its way south. Plan for frost, freezing temperatures tonight. The precipitation is going to hold off as we see those critical freezing temperatures, but as we get into the day tomorrow, a cold rain is going to set up across our area. Still could see maybe a brief wintry mix as that starts, although surface temperatures will be rising above freezing. But we're tracking that for you. We're going to talk a lot more about what's on the way coming up in the 7-day forecast. Lauren?
Well, the city of Mountain Brook continuing its tradition of recycling your real Christmas trees. You can drop off your bare tree at the Birmingham Zoo during regular business hours. The trees are then chipped and made into mulch. Mountain Brook neighbors can donate your trees through January 9th. Well, out on the West Coast in California, their snowfall is off to a slow start this year after the state's Department of Water Resources conducted a snow survey, which records snow depth and water content. A snow depth of 7.5 inches and a water content of 3 inches was recorded. But here's the deal. This is much less than the amount they recorded last year.
Here at Phillips last year on this date, we were standing on almost 5 feet of snow. So vastly different than what we are standing on here today. Today's result shows that it's really still too early to determine what kind of year we'll have in terms of wet or dry. And there can be so many things that happen with our storm systems.
Tuesday's snow survey was the first in a series of manual measurements at Phillips Station in the Sierra Nevada. And then in New York, a magnitude 1.7 earthquake hit the Astoria neighborhood in New York City early this morning. This is the same location where the New York City Fire Department responded to reports of an explosion and a shaking building. There hasn't been official word of whether those reports and the earthquake were related. And new video showing the impact of that powerful earthquake that struck Japan on New Year's Day. At least 48 people are dead and many others still missing. Japan's military search and rescue teams are struggling to reach what they're calling the worst hit areas. Access is cut off to some regions from destroyed roads and collapsed buildings. So far, the country has experienced more than 30 aftershocks. The immediate risk of tsunamis is over, but experts warn dangerous aftershocks could last for months. Well, still ahead on First Alert Weather Extra, we continue to talk about increasing rain chances in the forecast and give you a first look at the storm system that warrants a First Alert Weather Day early next week. We'll be right back.
And welcome back into First Alert Weather Extra. Thank you so much for those awesome weather app photos that you've been sharing with us. A lovely view here from Ken Harmon on Smith Lake from this evening. It just looks like a paintbrush went to the sky there. You can see those glows and those pinks showing up. Those are high cirrus clouds. Mostly what you're seeing there are what we call ice clouds high up in the atmosphere, but they can really set off those colors in the evening, and it's been so nice to see those views there from Smith Lake. But over the weekend, I know it's going to be a little too cold around here to get out on the water maybe, but if you are planning on traveling to a warmer location or perhaps a milder location, Mickey's checking in right now with our travel forecast.
Well, it's after the new year, and you know a lot of folks, now that the temperatures are cooler, they like to go to the beach. My parents are one of them. They're loving to go to the beach this time of the year. Well, if you are heading on down to the Gulf of Mexico and those beaches right along the Florida Panhandle or the Alabama Gulf Coast beaches, 57 degrees going into tomorrow. We do have a good chance of rain. Now, that same system that's bringing us a chance of showers could bring more substantial rainfall a little further to the south. So anywhere south of Montgomery down towards the Florida Panhandle, decent chance of rain tomorrow, but drying out on Thursday. Let's take a look at the extended forecast going into the next couple of days. And there you see it. We have that chance of rain tomorrow. Now, we have a good chance of rain on Saturday here locally at the beach. We're looking at about a 30% chance of showers, but Monday brings into Tuesday, brings another chance of rain and maybe some thunderstorms. If you're going to the mountains, if that's where you want a vacation, well, the rain chances are not as high the further north you go for tomorrow's scenario. So you may dodge the rain at the mountains because it's more geared into the Gulf and South Alabama. And then we get into the weekend, a good chance of getting wet on Saturday, good 90% chance for part of your weekend. So if you're doing some traveling, drive carefully or however you're traveling and get back home safely, and hope you'll join us here on WBRC. Safe travels.
And another lovely photo just in from Michelle out at Webster Chapel, sharing that on the First Alert Weather app. We have the sky for most of us clearing out across the area. Just a few clouds to the north, so it's still dry and a lot of areas where we don't have as much cloud cover, so temperatures dropping quickly. Again, as you can see, we're close to 7 o'clock. We get that next update. We're going to have some areas here, outlying areas around St. Clair County, Blount County points to the north there. We could be close to freezing already, but do plan for another freeze overnight. I know Lauren's been talking about those overnight lows. We've been seeing close to 32, upper 20s in the outlying areas, and we'll see that again early tomorrow morning. But this is the new data, and it's showing that we could start to see a lot of clouds around, probably becoming quite overcast there quickly tomorrow morning. We start out with temperatures in the freezing range. The thing is, those clouds are going to hold the temperatures down, but once we start to see some precipitation moving our way, temperatures you can see by 10 a.m. rising into the 40s, but there's a system that's going to mostly track south of us. At least that's where the heaviest rain is going to be located, but some of that moisture could reach areas further north, I-20 corridor and point south especially. Can't promise or say we're going to see a lot of rain for these far northern locations. You can see the model data doesn't show a lot there, but those showers will start to build into parts of our area. I'd plan for that possibility. Certainly wouldn't leave the house without the umbrella and the jacket because it is going to be cold into the afternoon, but we could see a brief wintry mix as some of this starts for areas where we do see the precipitation. And as this comes to an end tomorrow, it wouldn't surprise me to see maybe some light snow or a wintry mix in the highest terrain to the east, places like Mount Cheaha, as this moves out of here. But for most of us, it's just a little bit of rain, some clouds tomorrow, and just a cold, dreary setup there into the afternoon. Now, we're going to have a better chance for some wet weather, some higher totals as we go into Friday night and into the day on Saturday. You see that rain coming back. Maybe a few storms to the south. I'm not seeing as much instability with this system. We'll keep an eye on it. Certainly seeing a good possibility of a soaking Friday night, and we'll see this move out early Saturday morning. So we'll get actually dry weather for most of the weekend, but we need to keep an eye on the system after this. A very active pattern, already declaring a first alert weather day for Monday night and into Tuesday and next week. And you can see already, this is from the Storm Prediction Center. They've highlighted a risk for severe weather down along the coastal area. areas. But what I've been seeing in the data, I saw this yesterday, this storm fuel is starting to trend further north, that instability. So we're going to have to watch that as we go into Monday and Tuesday and next week. See, right in here, this would include some of our southern counties. So we'll need to be weather alert, at least for right now, possibility of first alert weather day for those areas to the south. And you can see how that spreads on to the east there as we go into early next week. But that's what we're going to be tracking, that possibility of some stormy weather Monday night and into Tuesday, what we're going to be watching in the long range forecast. But you can see on the 7-day as we go into next week, temperatures showing around 60 degrees. Will probably trend a little bit milder there with that chance for some storms coming in there, something that we're going to be watching. And it looks like even after early next week, we could be talking about some more wet weather as we go into next weekend, right, Lauren?
Yeah, Wes, as we look at that first alert weather calendar, what I do want to draw your attention to is not the first weekend of January, but the second weekend of January. We've been seeing some hints, some signals that there could be another system in, possibly a storm system that could bring a chance of rain or possibly storms next Saturday, Sunday time frame. So that is going into Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. But looking at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, it looks like temperatures could be generally near average here in central Alabama over the next 6 to 10 days. So the question is, okay, what does that look like in terms of actual temperatures? So morning lows looking fairly seasonable in the 30s going into next week. We could get a little warmer with that storm system for next weekend, not this weekend, but the weekend after that, and then possibly seeing temperatures cooling down past that next weekend storm system. But you can see highs here generally 50, 60. So if we did see a situation where we see some 60s in the forecast, that's certainly where you want to watch for that potential for some storms that could be on the strong side. So the rainfall outlook, at least this is good news for us since we're coming out of 2023 in a drought with a deficit of rainfall above average precipitation possible, not just for us here in the southeast, but a good portion of the U.S. So we've got a very active jet stream that is in place, and that's what's helping to bring in these systems. You can often see this very active southern branch of this jet stream when we have El Nino winters. So jumping ahead here to next Saturday, the 13th, we see that possibility of some rain coming in and potentially some storms that Sunday before we possibly, hopefully, dry out later in the day on Martin Luther King. Some of the latest data is showing maybe there could still be some rain around on MLK Day. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on things in the days ahead. But as we look ahead here beyond the 7-day, over the last few days, it really has been very cold in central Alabama, and it's going to stay that way for at least through the start of the weekend. We bundle up our children to keep them warm, but as Rachel Joyce from Consumer Reports explains, a bulky coat and a car seat can actually be a dangerous combination.
Buckle you in.
Car seat safety is important to Emily Thomas, not only because she has a PhD in pediatric injury biomechanics and serves as Consumer Reports child passenger safety expert, but also because she's mom to 2-year-old Micah. Emily knows that in winter, the extra bulk of a puffy coat can make the safety seat harness too loose to properly secure a child in a crash.
I also do the daycare drop-off every morning, and I know that it can be really annoying and kind of inconvenient to have to remove their coats to put them into their car seat. But I will tell you that it is super important for their safety. You want them to be the safest they can in their car seat.
There's an easy way to check if your child's coat is too puffy or bulky. First, secure him in the car seat wearing his coat so there is no slack in the harness straps. Then remove the coat and put him back in the seat. If the straps are loose, there's a problem.
In a crash, if he was still wearing his coat would compress, all of that puffiness would compress, leaving this extra room, which gives him additional room to move and potentially move outside the safety of his car seat, which would increase his risk of injury. We don't want you to have any injuries, right?
So how should your child stay safe and warm in the car? Consumer Reports recommend securing your child into the seat and then putting a blanket or coat on top of the harness. For older kids, put their coat sleeves on backwards after they are harnessed in.
I know it can be challenging, but the sooner you start with these kinds of safety practices, the more it becomes the norm. So now he's so used to taking his coat off that he doesn't even like to wear his coat underneath his harness. And he's the one who implements the change of taking his coat off.
This is Rachel Joyce.
Well, Lauren, my Twitter feed right now, it is quite active. I'm seeing all these photos coming in. This is from one of my followers there in Chelsea, Randy Cash, sharing this from Oak Mountain.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, just incredible. You know, you get those high clouds this time of the year, and have you noticed there's a little bit more light?
Yes, there is.
A little bit later into the evening.
And that's making me a little bit happier, too. I don't know about you,
Yeah.
Wes. It just puts a little pep in your step, gaining some sunlight.
Yeah, it's a slow go, but we're heading that way, certainly are. And we're going to be seeing a more active weather pattern, a lot to track over the next couple days, so check back in with us tonight. You can see on the 7-day we've got 1, 2, 3 systems, including tomorrow. It could get interesting. You know, we might see a little bit of a sleet mix there. We'll talk more about that chance coming up tonight. First at 9. Be sure to join us.